Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News, where we begin with breaking news. Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon is moving to end the national rail shutdown. It only began hours ago, but has threatened Canada's economy. He's ordered the labour dispute involving CN Rail, Canadian Pacific Kansas City, and the Teamsters to be sent to binding arbitration.
These collective bargaining negotiations belong to these parties, but their effects and the impacts of the current impasse are being borne by all Canadians. And there is an impasse. As Minister of Labour, I am using my authorities under the Canada Labour Code to secure industrial peace and deliver the short and long-term solutions that are in the national interest. Under Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code, I've directed the Canada Industrial Relations Board to assist the parties in settling the outstanding terms of their collective agreements by imposing final binding arbitration.
Two arrests made in connection to the homicide of a Nunavut man living in Winnipeg. The 46-year-old victim is Jacques Kablituk, originally from Rankin Inlet. On May 12th, Winnipeg police responded to a call about Kablituk, who was found severely injured on the ground in the city's west end. He was taken to hospital and later pronounced dead. On Tuesday, police arrested 32-year-old Derek James Gray, charged with manslaughter and robbery, and 21-year-old Roberta Sumner, charged with possession of property obtained by crime under $5,000. According to the police, Kablituk was confronted and robbed by the two suspects. Police allege the incident escalated and Kablituk was fatally stabbed. First Nations people's life expectancy in British Columbia dropped significantly over a 4-year period, according to an interim report. The COVID-19 pandemic and the toxic drug crisis in BC are both being blamed for the drop from 73 years in 2017 to 67 years in 2021. There are now also more First Nations people dying earlier than expected, from 117 people to 156 per 10,000 population. Dr. Danielle Ben-Smith, Indigenous Health Deputy Public Health Officer, calls the numbers gut-wrenching and says they show how settler colonial systems are not meeting the needs of First Nations people. First Nations people account for only 4% of BC's population, but account for 14 to 19% of total deaths from toxic drugs. The report was released on Wednesday by BC's First Nations Health Authority. Manitobans will have access to prescription birth control starting on October 1st. That was announced by the Manitoba government today. The full cost of around 60 different birth control methods will be covered through the Manitoba Pharmacare program. IUDs, hormone injections, and the pill are some of the common types covered. A prescription will be necessary, and participants must not be covered under other federal or provincial programs to be eligible. The government says full coverage of birth control could save someone up to tens of thousands of dollars throughout their life. The cost for the coverage is estimated at about $11 million per year.
Our government affirms women, girls, and gender diverse folks having control over their reproductive health, understanding that this is key to greater autonomy over their personal and professional lives. Free birth control reduces unintended pregnancies, lowering health risks associated with pregnancy and childbirth. Free birth control helps in managing and treating reproductive health conditions. Free birth control supports Manitobans' participation in the workforce by planning pregnancies around their schooling or training or careers, which ultimately contributes to Manitoba's economic growth.
An urban Inuit nonprofit in Winnipeg opened the doors of their new 18,000 square foot space in the city's north end this week. Since opening in 2019, Tunasugit has become a hub for Inuit in Winnipeg, transitioning from northern to city life. Reporter Sierra Bettens takes you on a tour of the new facility.
Tunasugit is the organization Nikki Komak-Sutisak wishes she had when she moved to Winnipeg from Chesterfield Inlet, Nunavut as a child.
Living here in the city of Winnipeg and not really having access to culture and language growing up made it really difficult for me to have my culture and hold up my culture. So if I was going through that, that meant a lot of other Inuit who were living in the city were also going through that.
Decades later, she is the executive director of Tunasugit, a nonprofit that helps Inuit transition to life in the city by accessing services and cultural programming.
We opened our doors May 4th of 2019. We started with one staff member with a board of directors, and today we have about 26 staff, a healthy board of directors, and a beautiful space that we just moved into here.
Tunasugit means welcome in Inuktitut. After 5 years in the community, the organization has expanded from its modest location in the West End to an 18,000 square foot space in the North End. It's the first week of drop-in programming at the new space, where country food and community connections await those who walk through their doors. Youth Program Manager Maxine Engu and lead community lounge helper Pudlu are gearing up to host youth programming in the basement.
They'll be doing throat singing, learning how to play Inuit games, art, floor hockey you could play down here. I mean, this space is specifically going to be for the Inuit Youth Program, and all of our community events we usually hold once a month.
Some elements, like the bingo board, will be kept, while the rest of the space will be repurposed.
Our small space, we couldn't have any events there. It was way too small. We were operating out of 3 separate buildings, so we often had to rent community space. But so that's a big game changer now that we're here. We have our own space. We don't have to pay for other space.
According to the 2021 census, just under 500 Inuit live in Winnipeg. However, thousands travel to the city every year to access services like medical care and educational opportunities. Oftentimes, when Inuit move to Winnipeg, Komak-Sutisak says they encounter barriers right away.
Not able to retrieve identification and not being able to get that form of identification, then there were just a ripple effect into so many other barriers that are associated with that, not being able to find housing, not being able to, go apply for various social programs, job searches.
In the new space, Inuit can access laundry services, sewing stations, a donation closet, and computers to connect to services.
We have computers set up for community members. They can do job search, they can look for housing, other programs they might be searching for.
As they expand programming in the new facility, Komak-Sutisak says they're also advocating for more policy changes aimed at removing barriers for Inuit in Winnipeg.
Not only are we a non-for-profit organization supporting our community, but we're in the background also changing legislation and policy to include Inuit, which is exactly what it is that we need to do to support our community.
Once renovations are complete, she says they plan to host their official grand opening in the new space in September. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Great news. Time for a quick break, and then our Truth in Politics panel will be here to discuss the appointment of Charles Adler to the Senate. Stick around. Welcome back. The recent appointment of longtime broadcaster Charles Adler to the Senate is being called grossly offensive by First Nations in the province he is meant to represent. Even one of Trudeau's cabinet ministers, Dan Vandel, criticized the selection of Adler. For more on the appointment and fallout, we're joined by our Truth in Politics panel. Jennifer Leywitz is a partner with Pasqua Harbor Strategies, and Egon Sinclair is a columnist with the Winnipeg Free Press. Jennifer Inon, thanks for being with us this week as always. Jennifer, you were speaking out about the appointment of Charles Adler to the Senate even before the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs put out its statement. What don't you like about this appointment?
I think it was just shocking that he was one of the picks. We saw Tracy Mugley appointed in Saskatchewan, and, the Liberal government made a big promise in 2014 that they were going to come in and make the Senate nonpartisan, and obviously that has not happened from what we've seen from some of the senators that have been elected or appointed, that have a fairly rich political history with the Liberal Party. But with Charles Adler, I just think it's bananas. Like, it really is. It's highlighting so many various problems that we have with Senate appointments. We have seen Dan Van Dale from Manitoba, the Liberals' only minister in that province, speaking out. So obviously he wasn't consulted. And then we saw the Assembly of First Nations in Manitoba also coming out and speaking out. So then that also highlights the issue of, were they not consulted, and did nobody pick up the phone and talk to them either?
Inon, did you see this as a surprise, this pick?
Not if you, I suppose, see and consider the context of the kind of desperate situation that Justin Trudeau is in politically. He needs a voice that will, at least for the short term, Adler will only be serving about a 5-year term before he's forcibly retired, according to the mandatory retirement age. He needs a force that will combat Pierre Poilievre, will be a self-declared conservative. Whether he is or not is debatable up to this point. My column that I point out is the man is certainly very frivolous with his political affiliations, kind of checkerboarding when conservatism works, when it doesn't. He's somewhat different, and particularly while he calls himself a small C conservative, he's certainly been more of a liberal over the past few years, particularly since he's left talk radio. But I would say that he has become a personal champion of Justin Trudeau and supporting the message of the federal Liberal government. And good, bad, or ugly, that is absolutely what's leading to this appointment.
Jennifer, we recently saw the feds backtrack on the funding cap for searching for unmarked graves. A bit of a surprise. Do you think there will be enough backlash here for this pick to be rescinded?
I honestly don't know. I've been trying to think about that over the last few days, but, like we've discussed previously about, Indigenous people being a political football, we see this all the time. We've seen Liberals come out heavily against Pierre Poilievre and his quotes that he made in 2008 regarding Indigenous people and settlements. But at the same time, this is an opportunity right in front of you where, Charles Adler is not an elected official. He was appointed. Canadians have a duty to elect good politicians, and when they have historical past that are hurtful to Indigenous people or any group of people, you're going to hear about it. But at the same time, we did not elect Charles Adler. The Prime Minister had an opportunity here to really showcase reconciliation, and instead appointed somebody that does have historically a bad, relationship when it comes to talking about Indigenous people and our issues. I think in one of the articles I'd read, he referred to our people as boneheads or something like that. And that's a problem. And if the Prime Minister is committed to reconciliation and the fallout from the funding cap relating to gravesite searches, there's that looming cloud over him right now of, if you are actually committed, then show it.
Inon, as you pointed out, it's kind of changed some positions. I can just remember during the election campaign here, Adler had an article criticizing the billboards about not searching the landfill, which I think pretty much everybody would have agreed with that anyways. But, people recently were criticizing one of your colleagues at the Free Press about their previous articles and views. Can people not change?
Well, I would say the difference between who you're talking about is Tom Broadbeck there, who was well known for having very strong, incorrect, divisive views involving Indigenous peoples. Tom Broadbeck wrote a column taking responsibility for those incorrect, divisive views. Anyone, if they wish, can go and look at my column. I address the fact that Charles Adler, while may have changed his tune over the year, and I think anybody can change their opinion over a period of time, needs to take responsibility for some of those atrocious things, incorrect, factually incorrect, which led to stereotypes and damaging views by his followers about Indigenous peoples and taking responsibility for that is just something that he's not willing to do. As I've shown in the interviews that he gave just after he was appointed to the Senate, he wants to double down from his time as being a right-wing talk radio host. He doesn't want to take responsibility, and what he says is I profited mightily for the radio stations that I worked for by reflecting the views of what he viewed as Canadian views, and he doesn't apologize for his success. I mean, you can read it right there in the black and white in the quotations on those things that he have come out since he's been appointed. The one thing that I would say is that he asked for a meeting with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. I couldn't think of a more awkward meeting that maybe would take place if it will be accepted. I can't see the Assembly maybe accepting that, but it is a person that's going to be decision maker on things like funding for First Nations for the next 5 years. So it might be in the Assembly's best interest. But I hope that Adler certainly comes with much more than an apology, but takes responsibility for his past incorrect, divisive statements.
Reached out to AMC earlier today to find out if that meeting will be taking place. Yet to hear. So, Jennifer, Nigon, thanks to you both for doing this.
Thanks.
We'd like to hear what you think about the appointment of Charles Adler to the Red Chamber, or anything else you'd like to get in touch with us about. Here's how to continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can head on over to our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. The Migma Summer Games continue in Member 2. We'll bring you the latest from today's action after the break. Welcome back. Let's take a look at our photo of the day. Ken Dennis shared this photo from near Sanford, Nova Scotia. Ken enjoyed the day on the river surrounded by the lilies. Looks pretty nice. Ken, thanks for that. You can send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at Friday's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, showers and 24 in Halifax, 22 and rain in Fredericton. 25 in Kuujjuaq, sun's out, and 22 for Nain. A sunny high of 25 in Montreal, 1 degree warmer in Val-d'Or. Showers and 22 in Sault Ste. Marie, 25 in North Bay. 27 with rain in Thunder Bay, 24 and rain in Sioux Lookout. 22 with showers in God's Lake, 22 in Norway House, 26 in Winnipeg and Dauphin, 27 in Brandon, 30 in Regina, 29 in Saskatoon, sunny and 29 in Meadow Lake, 25 in Uranium City. In northern Alberta, rain and 21 in High Level, sunny and 28 in Fort McMurray. Sun's out and 28 in Edmonton, 30 in Lethbridge. 21 with showers in Vancouver, 32 and rain in Kamloops. Sunny and 23 in Prince George, cloudy and 20 for Smithers. 14 in Old Crow and in Whitehorse. 20 and cloudy in Yellowknife, 18 with showers in Norman Wells. 8 in Sax Harbor, 12 in Polituck. 15 in Baker Lake, 13 in Arviette. 0 in Resolute, 6 in Arctic Bay. A group of 10 Indigenous artists from the Yukon and the Northwest Territories received accolades at a prestigious Indigenous market in New Mexico. The annual Santa Fe Indian Market draws an estimated 100,000 people each year. The market showcases North American Indigenous art, craftsmanship, jewelry, and fashion. The 10 artists received government funding to attend this year, as there's been minimal Northern participation in the past. 3 Northern artists won first place in their respective categories. 2 others secured second place finishes. Whitehorse-based Randy Nelson is one of them, winning first place in the Diverse Arts category. for herpes floral protection.
It was fun. It was really great. I felt really supported with the group that I went down with. So it was great to go down as a northern cohort. And we met people from all over the world, and our artwork was really valued, and people were really excited to see it.
Awesome stuff. Congrats to all of them. At the Nova Scotia Migma Summer Games, athletes continue to compete on the field. But as Angel Moore found out, there's more to the games than just beating your opponent.
I'm here at the Migma Summer Games and the Member 2 First Nation. This is the third time the community is hosting since the Games began again in 2010. For Chief Terry Paul, it was important the Games included Mi'kmaq culture.
A number of other cultural events like swimming and canoeing and Waltis, a very ancient game that we play here. And it's a very lively action there, and a number of elders are involved in that. So that's one really good thing about our games, is that everybody can participate if they want to.
At track and field, youth competed at the 30, 60, and 100 meter races. Here are some of the youth sharing what games means to them.
Other competitors meet other people, and that's pretty much fun to other people.
I like being an athlete and playing for my team, and I like bringing support to my team, so yeah.
Like brings energy, and like it lets you go outside more and like learn about different provinces and make new friends.
Oh yeah, I think it's fun to be in the games because there's tons of different communities, and I can, like, if I have really cousins in like other communities, they can come down.
Drake Johnson is 11 years old on Team Savaganagati First Nation. He's won multiple medals, but just likes to run.
Oh, I like bell running because I like racing people, and I like racing on like a track outside.
Over at men's basketball, Eskazoni and Member 2 drew a large crowd, with Eskazoni coming out on top. Eskazoni's First Nations, Megan Basque, came to support her team. She was recently crowned Miss Canada United World. Basque is a mentor and a judge for the Games Princess pageant. She also competed in badminton.
It's nice. Like, it's nice that I'm able to come out of my comfort zone. I've never competed before, so, you know, my son's watching as well, so it's nice for me to showcase that to him. But I'm having fun. Like, I plan to come back every year to try new things.
So far, Eskazoni First Nation is leading with 102 medals, and Member 2 is the second with 67 medals. The games continue on Friday. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Member 2 First Nation, Unamagi, Migma for Cape Breton.
Awesome stuff. Congrats to all the athletes there. That's a lot of medals that are up for grabs. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Thursday. But for news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And be sure to join us back here tomorrow. Creason will have your first look at the day's news at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I will see you back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Stick around for an encore presentation of Face to Face. That's coming up next. Have a great night.